You're listening to Inside the Locker Room with Wimp and Barry Sanderson on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa. Inside the Locker Room with former Crimson Tide basketball coach Wimp Sanderson and his son, former SEC and ACC assistant basketball coach Barry Sanderson. It's time to take you inside the locker room on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
And good morning. Welcome into a Monday edition of Inside the Locker Room. 205-342-9904 is the phone number if you'd like to jump in on the show with us this morning. The X accounts at Locker Room 109 at Barry Sanderson at Wimp Sanderson 1. Email address for the show is wimpandbarry@yahoo.com. Download that app, the Tide 100.9 app, to your smartphone, and you can take us with you anywhere you go. Good morning, Chase. How was your weekend this morning? Everything okay?
Yeah.
Get some rest?
It was well needed, I will say that.
Yeah. All right. Good morning, Dad. How are you this morning?
I'm doing okay. Several things to start off with. A couple of things I need to say about Alabama recruiting. Of course, Scotty Scheffler came back from, we'll talk with Doug Bell about that, but came back from being just one of the group, not going to be on the top three in golf and the Olympics, and came back with 4 straight birdies and won it. Big deal. Great interview of him. Look at him when they played the national anthem, and he was emotional. It was very good. Boy, I'm telling you right now, this girl from the Netherlands, good night from ain't mauled. She can fly. She's a Caucasian girl, and she absolutely, the Netherlands are basically all Caucasians, a lot of them, but she can absolutely run like a deer. I have never seen anybody come from behind the way she has in 2 or 3 of their races. Of course, Noah Lyles won by 0.5 of a second to be the fastest man in the world. And Biles, of course, is terrific. The kid from Auburn got gold. So those are big things right there. And I know a lot of you don't watch the Olympics. Some of you do. But I need to mention those things. I'm sure Barry will talk about it as we go through the show. Braves lost 7-0. Coach at Michigan last year may be on probation for what he did, somewhat cheating and so forth there. Before I get into these little things I say, you have to understand about Alabama's recruiting. These guys are doing a good job. The fact of the matter is that Auburn's going to get more because they're settling on the idea that the program has changed. And you can't see whether the program has changed or not because they have not played yet. So I think as hard as you go in there with Coach leaving, not because Alabama's done a poor job recruiting, I think those guys have done pretty well. The Smith announced that the Smith kid changed, or didn't change, or Alabama actually didn't have it down as one of his offers. Went to Auburn yesterday, a 4-star from over at Alabaster. I guess Thompson High School.
Jared, well, he's a 5-star. It's not a 4.
Okay, 5-star. He had 4 in the paper this morning, but it's okay. So whatever he is, 4, 5, or 10, doesn't make any difference to me. The fact of the matter is that when a new staff goes in there and the other staff is doing a good job, they're probably giving them more money than they've ever given. I understand all of that. But the fact that coaches left and you can sell them on the idea at another school that things are not going to be the way they have been in the past, it's a plus in your hat when you go in there to try to get players. So we'll see what happens with the continuation of it. But I think that's important to bring out. Let's see. Kentucky got on probation for what they gave guys work. That guys work. The swimmers turned up themselves in. They turned that Kentucky in. Some of the swimmers did. They had some guys work and did not work and got paid, which was a pretty big mess there. Put them on 2 years probation. Not anything really, really bad, but you can use probation against them when you go and talk to them in the recruiting. Fazan kid, Brandon, quarterback, was a pocket passer and one of the better pocket passers in country committed to Tennessee, but it's for the 26th season. Let's see, Justin Haynes and Jim Miller are doing well in running backs. I think the defensive line, he's bragged on them a lot, and Brandon coaching them has done a good job there. Some people don't like me to say that, but I think he's done a great job there by what I hear. Terrence Howard got killed, and he was going to transfer it over to North Carolina and got killed in an automobile accident. This makes it, and he got out of the car to check the other guy's car and got hit. And this reminds me, and I want to say it again because he's a friend. John David Crow won the won the Heisman Trophy for Coach Bryant at Alabama, and he came back to Tuscaloosa and he coached. And he left. He had a son, Junior, and terrific. He was running back at Alabama, never could be quite as good as his daddy. He was driving down the road there in Tuscaloosa, and a guy had a flat tire. And he got out of his car to go over and help the guy with a flat tire, and he got hit and killed. I think about that, he and his wife all the time about that. What a sad deal that is. So I can't get on the radio show and tell you to be careful. You want to do what you want to do, but maybe think about that. Maybe think about John David Crow. So, some people remember that. Some people won't. So I got up early this morning to try to give you as much as I could give you. I don't know if I got inside linebackers, Lawson and Campbell. They say they're doing well. So that's about all I got. But I'm telling you now, this recruiting thing is because of Auburn. Maybe they're buying them. Maybe they are. I'm not arguing that. But it's more difficult for these guys to go in and get Alabama players. That's the reason they got to work hard in Alabama to get the ones, because they're saying, and doing a good job of convincing them this is not Nick Saban's team. This is not University of Alabama anymore. That's it.
Yeah, so that puts Auburn at, according to 247, they move up to number 5. Alabama's still currently at number 2. So they're obviously Alabama's done well. Just people are panicking because, not panicking, but maybe we are, over in-state kids, and is that important? And of course, Auburn's made some leeway there. There's a big, there's a receiver, I think at Parker, that everybody's after, and Jared Smith said he's going to work on getting him to Auburn. So we'll see how all that turns out. I think one of the things that's kind of interesting, and I don't even know who all they got back there. I know Nick Saban had a ton of guys with experience, but analysts now, they used to they couldn't do anything on the field. Well, they can now. So you have more guys coaching these guys on the field. When they had Charlie Strong and they had Dooley, they had a bunch of different guys in here over the years as analysts. But that's probably very helpful to have, more eyes on the field, but more guys that can get out there and instruct, to maybe spend more time with the younger guys that don't know on the side, but because you can actually be out there coaching during practice, so you have more than the 10 guys out there and the head coach that can actually instruct. So I think that should help player development, not just at Alabama, but across the country, and maybe bringing in guys in those roles. That can be a big help, can't it?
Yeah, but I think also you do that, but I think when you see things that you need to correct, that you correct them in the offensive and defensive rooms with your coaches. You may whisper to somebody that need to do this and need to do that, but I think the biggest thing the thing that analysts don't need to do is butt in. You can have too many coaches out there. I think it's a good idea. I think it's fine to have them all out there looking at things on the field. That's fine. Maybe they can do other things besides their regular practice with them. But I think the biggest thing is for them to be able to get into the room. For the offense, and the offensive people are in one room, the defensive people are in the other at different times, and talk to them about what they feel they need to do. I think that's great.
Yeah. So anyway, I think they you could maybe not have as many guys in the group, and the one position group guy can lead it, but the guy can go over and help them as they do the drills and stuff and really have a close eye on them, but can also correct and instruct as long as they're all on the same page, which I'm sure that's what the meetings are for. They're going to teach things a certain way. So I think those things probably help, the development of this football team, and certainly the development, well, really of all these guys, because all the terminology, I know football is football, but a lot of the stuff is probably new just about the entire team. These guys that have been here before can pick up a little bit quicker, but, or maybe not. Maybe a freshman guy doesn't know anything that came in and hadn't been taught anything really. Well, I guess they were taught in high school, but I think it's probably going to be helpful there. All right, we'll go ahead and take the first break. I did watch something over the weekend that I think the University of Alabama has done a terrific job on, and I'll tell you what that is when we get back from break. And if you've seen it, I hope you'll call in and respond about, but I'll tell you what that is when we get back. 2 Minute Truck, they're at 1330 Martin Road East. That's where you go pick up your boxes, your packing supplies, whatever you need to make this a smooth move. It's local, out of town, out of state, no problem. Let the professionals handle it. They'll take great care of you and your stuff. It's 205-247-5050. That's 2 Minute Truck. Movers who care.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. It is a smooth ride around Tuscaloosa right now. We're dealing with very minimal slow ups, if any at all. So the construction zones rule, and they're not even an issue right now. But going to give them to you. McWright's Ferry Road extension between Rice Mine and New Watermelon Road. You do have some road work there. And McFarland Boulevard, expect for lane blockages both east and westbound between Jack Warner and Lurleen Wallace. With your Tuscaloosa traffic now, I'm Tammy Thomas.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good Monday morning. The United States Justice Department has sued Norfolk Southern Railroad, claiming Amtrak Crescent passenger trains that serve Tuscaloosa twice a day are repeatedly delayed by freight train interference. Federal law requires railroads to give priority to Amtrak passenger trains. Some Crescent trains are sidetracked for hours to allow freight trains to pass by. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news. It's free all throughout the day. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
Tripping, business travel, or bringing your car in for repairs. All great reasons to rent a Toyota at Tuscaloosa Toyota. You can rent the latest Toyota models for a day, a week, or a weekend. Every Toyota rental car comes with 24 hours roadside assistance and is backed by an entire team of people you know and trust. Rent a Toyota and let's go places. Reserving yours is a breeze at TuscaloosaToyota.com.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky partly to mostly sunny today with only a small chance of a shower this afternoon or this evening. Most places will stay dry. The high today 92, tonight's low 73. Tomorrow is sunny day with a hot afternoon, the high 95. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3320 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
A national championship team covering a national championship team. The best sports talk in the state. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Inside the Locker Room. I want to thank Pressure Treated Pine from Great Southern Wood. They bring you this 7 o'clock hour each and every day. Always remember, if it doesn't have the yellow tag on it, then you certainly don't want it. If you're going to build a 5-star backyard, then you got to use the best. So go to yellowwood.com to find the dealer that is closest to you. Guys, the phone lines are open, 205-342-9904. We will start having Max Howell on Mondays. I know everybody loves to hear Max, and he'll start a week before football season starts. So about a couple more weeks, and then Max will join us every Monday, and we'll look at the games that were just played and look ahead what's coming up on that weekend, always with Max. So you know it's getting close when Max is going to join us. Guys, I over the weekend, the University of Alabama did a documentary on Lank, and I don't know, Chase, if you've gotten a chance to see it, that I don't know if you, it's on YouTube. You can get it on YouTube.
What?
LANK, the acronym LANK that Alabama used last year. Let all naysayers know. All right, so it was something that Nick Saban said. Jalen Milroe and Terrion Arnold started using it, and so it started to kind of grow some legs. After they played South Florida, I think, when they talked about Jalen Milroe, they had a team-only meeting. He got up and spoke in front of the team, and he wasn't even starting at this point, but basically said, hey, we're talking a bunch of stuff, but we're not showing anybody. We're not doing what we need to do. So anyway, this thing kind of took off. And so they interview all the people, and here's what I like about it. It is true NIL. They started making the LANK T-shirts, and they sold some or whatever. And then they started to realize this thing was going to take off and somebody was going to steal it. And I may have this not completely right, but Trip Powell, who was part of Alabama, basically called those guys and said, hey, y'all need to get this license so you have the rights to it. And they went in, and obviously LANK, with the help of the University of Alabama, I'm sure Greg Byrne and his people there, I give them a ton of credit. They let them take that A and put the script A in there. That is very recognizable. And they just talk about how this thing grew throughout the year. And they interview all the Coach Saban and even Kalen DeBoer and obviously Milroe and Terrion Arnold. And this thing started to really explode with T-shirts and sweatshirts, and they talked about the Rose Bowl. It went to a whole nother level, and that is what true NIL is. These guys had an idea. They capitalized on the university. Alabama kind of assisted them, and hey, you got to get this thing licensed where you have the rights to it. And then the University of Alabama and Greg Byrne, they get involved and help these guys and get it to where that A can be that script A of Alabama. And then the kids started having some success with it. And then it shows them going back in, and they made shirts and stuff for all the players that were on the team. And it had LANK, but it had their number and their name on the back, so they could sell those now and start getting some of this money as well. So it's really what NIL is supposed to be, that these guys kind of came up with this. It grew within the team. The university got behind it. Alabama got behind it. And now this thing has absolutely exploded for these guys. So there was a guy that was interviewed much during it at Alabama. And these guys that did this documentary, I need to figure out who did it. They did an unbelievable job with it. It's really well put together. It doesn't say how much money they've made or anything like that. They talk about how they kind of used it as a team rallying cry. Of course, Terrion Arnold went on to be a first-round draft pick, and he had LANK on the inside of his jacket. And I think that thing's going to continue to grow, and they're going to continue to make a lot of money off of this thing. All right, let's get to the Yellowwood hotline and get Philip in. Good morning, Philip.
Morning.
I don't hear him. I don't know. Is he ready? All right. Philip, can you hear us? Something's not turned up in there. All right. Let's put Philip back on hold. We'll try Tom. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Barry. Good morning, Coach. How are y'all?
We're good, man. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for asking.
We just accidentally clicked him off. Call back, Tom. I'm sorry. I hope he realizes that he's not on there. All right. Anyway, so I would suggest you go watch that LANK documentary. Is that Philip there online? Okay, let's try it again. Good morning, Philip. How you doing?
Hey, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you now. Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree, Barry. That LANK program was very interesting, and the thing I like about it, it's athletic department wide.
Yeah.
You know, the basketball team had those shirts on during the Final Four. And, it's athletic department wide, all sports. So I think it's a great thing. And I tip my hat to those two young men for making that take off like it did, and all the people who are responsible. I thought it was true NIL, and that's what, to me, NIL is all about right there.
Well, you had a lot of people working to get the system worked there. You had two players that really, when they came up with it, they weren't that. I mean, Jalen Milroe wasn't near as high profile as he is obviously now, and neither was Terrion Arnold. People hardly knew who he was. Now, his game grew throughout the year. We lost Phillip there as well. Okay. So we lost. Call back. So anyway, they grew as the season went on. So that thing started to grow. Their play started to grow. So it was pretty neat deal. Now
I don't even know what you're talking about.
You haven't been following. They have that link that let all 8 naysayers know that we're on all the shirts and all that stuff last year.
I have not. Sorry.
Yeah. So it's grown. It's exploded. It's like it's on T-shirts. Go ahead. It's on T-shirts.
What does the word link stand for?
I just told you it's let all.
I couldn't hear you, Barry, because I went off.
Let all naysayers know. LANK. And so basically they're talking about the critics that were saying they weren't going to be any good, this, that, and the other. They came up with, hey, let's let all naysayers know. We can control this narrative here. And so they went out and they played extremely well, but they kind of used that to kind of answer all the critics that were out there. All right, back to the Yellowwood hotline. Get Tom in. Hey, Tom.
Yeah, Barry, I'm sorry. I lost my connection some kind of way.
That was my fault. That was my fault. Go ahead.
Well, the thing about it is I was basically making the same point that you made. I had been thinking about it all weekend after I watched everything and saw how it played out, and the quality of marketing that's involved in this is just unbelievable by the university. And did you agree with me about Greg Byrne? I just think he has been so freaking good about everything that he's taken on. If you go from individual athletes all the way up to hires on coaches and everything, you agree with me there?
I do. I think he makes great hires. I think when he does things, like when they did the Saban field, I think they got a lot of criticism about it. But then when you saw how he was going to lay it out on the stadium, in front of the stadium, everything that he does looks first class. And so this length thing, like I think he got behind it, but it looks first class to put that script A in there and allow them to do it. It's always the things that they decide to do are always professionally done. It's not something that's slapped together.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That is what I took from the documentary. I really did. And, but it just shows the power of sports. And if it's ideas of their young people and players getting on something, I think it's the pattern. I think it's the pattern for all of athletes to look at. It's something out there that you can do to enhance your position financially and every other way. I just was blown away by it, I guess you can tell.
Yeah, well, I think one of the things when it first got kind of going, those Milroe and Terrion Arnold weren't that big, you know, but it grew throughout the year with their growth. And then I liked the part where they came back and they gave all the players the boxes with their numbers and names on the back, a chance for them to make a little bit. So they brought everybody into this thing. So the university's
correct.
Yeah, so it was really well thought out. And whoever did the documentary did a great job with it, to be honest.
Well, I've always been a proponent. Coach Bryant showed me something about the power of the university. And Coach Sanderson, I hope you will correct me if I'm wrong, but the Saturday Evening Post was a prominent magazine back in the day, in the 60s, and they took on Coach Bryant. And they were they were from up in New York and all this kind of crap. They were going to dog Coach Bryant into the ground. about something, the way he coached, and it all started with Bobby Dodd at Georgia Tech and all this kind of stuff. And Coach Bryant said, you know what, you're lying about me, and we're fixing to go to court. And the University of Alabama, which my hat will always be off to the School of Law at the University of Alabama. I will love them to the day I die. They got behind Coach Bryant, and they researched. They came up with a plan. They busted Saturday Evening Post ads and put them out of business, and Coach Bryant made a ton of money off of that lawsuit. Right or wrong, Coach Sanders?
Yeah, that's right. They had a article that Coach Bryant and Bobby Dodd had talked before a game, and that Coach Bryant had given, I think Bobby had some information about Georgia or something. I think it was Coach Georgia. I think the fact that he had given on the telephone, they tried to tell, which was nothing, something about the game that was going to cause Georgia to lose. What I don't remember exactly, but sure, it was the Saturday Evening Post and Coach Bryant. It was a big deal. I don't remember exactly.
That's
right.
all I got this morning. I appreciate y'all. I love the show.
Well, Tom, I appreciate it. I appreciate you backing me up on the Lank deal. I thought it was.
Barry, you were so your points were so good, so clear and accurate.
Thank you, sir. I don't know how much money they're making. Are you familiar with this deal, Chase Lank?
A little bit, yeah. I'm doing my research right now. I'm watching it actually.
You're watching the documentary?
It's great.
Yeah,
I might have to find some clips for y'all to play on air. So we'll see.
Yeah. So it's just, but now the next guys this year they'll be trying to come up with something to market and sell, and but selling shirts and T-shirts and all those different things. They say it absolutely has exploded, and it did show the Alabama basketball guys out there shooting with those shirts on with the Lank on there as well. Let all naysayers know, and ESPN even talked about it during one of the broadcasts, and was just continue to help that grow. All right, we'll take the break here. Open up the phone lines, 205-342-9904. Philip, call us back. Sorry, we had some phone issues there. You're so tied 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC. It's the home of Alabama sports.
With two-time state champion and two-time NIT champion, Barry Sanderson breaks down the latest in sports on Inside the Locker Room on Tide 100.9.
Welcome back to Inside the Locker Room. I think Yellowwood pressure 2-5 from Great Southern. Go to yellowwood.com, find a dealer closest to you. All right, back to the Yellowwood hotline. Get Philip in. Good morning, Philip.
Hey, Barry. Sorry about a minute. I don't know what.
Well, we got you good live and got you good now. Go ahead.
To tie in with the discussion you're having on the marketing thing with Lank, I'm a little surprised that we haven't heard anything about the midfield logo advertising or the football field advertising that's being allowed now. I thought that would have been a major story, but it just never really picked up anything.
I don't know. Do you think because they haven't secured the sponsor yet, or because they're just, I don't know. Why do you think that is, Phil?
I don't know. I thought that was going to be a hotter topic than it ended up being, and a really hot issue, and a kind of an interesting issue to talk about. But it really hadn't materialized like I thought it would have.
Dad, your thoughts on putting that on I don't even know what you would. I would love to know what you could charge for something like that.
That might be the hang up.
Yeah. How much is that worth, Dad, putting that name on the field, especially for those big...
I think it's worth a lot, especially if it's on national television. Although national people are not going to, if it's a local sponsor, I'll say local, if it's a bank or something, people that watch it. But the people that attend the game, they have to see it on both sides of the field. And the money... that athletic director wants to charge probably a I think it's all tied up in money and how they're going to do it. I'm sure they're planned on how to do it. I don't know what that is. They would put signs around the field as well as something on the field, and
right.
So I think that's going to be how you do it. Number one, what it costs is number two, and we'll see if they're doing anything behind the scenes.
You know, I know Tom brought this up about Greg Byrne seems to, everything he does looks very professional. I don't know if he had much to do with that documentary, but it was very well done. His interviews during it were terrific. When they did the Saban Field thing, he showed you how it was going to lay out on the stadium, to me, if you didn't think it was enough or whatever, when you saw that, it looked really good. So I think everything that he does in those situations, it's going to be first class, and it's not just going to be some throw together deal, Philip. I think everything he does seems to look really good.
I agree with that. I think the Saban Field thing, I think the signage, the lettering, the fonts, the colors are going to be regal. It's going to be a regal look to it, a very formal look to it. I think it's going to look really nice, and I think that Saban Field is going to be part of our language going forward when fans like us go to the games. They're going to say Saban Field, I believe.
I want to ask both of you guys, and I haven't been over to watch practice yet, but I've listened to the interviews. I've listened to what all the people that have been over there saying. It's so positive. Everybody's loving these assistant coaches. They're loving their enthusiasm. They're loving listening to Kalen DeBoer. I saw where Corey Miller even got to go over there, and Corey's always very difficult to please, not please, but to impress, which is fine. Where he was so impressed with Kalen DeBoer, and after meeting him, said, "Hey, I can see why guys want to play at Alabama." I guess my question is to you two guys, Dad, you maybe take it first. Did you ever? We talked about, of course, the season hasn't been played. But we talked about, hey, when Coach Saban's gone, you're going to see, man, it's not going to be the same. Now, maybe it will, maybe it won't. Time will only tell. But I never thought it could even be this positive of what it's been with Coach's departure up until now. Now, people acting like, hey, now with the times with NIL and all the things, you need a player's coach, which I think Coach was. You can tell those players love Coach Saban when they come back to media day and how they run up to him. But did you ever think it would be this positive, Dad? Philip, Dad, you go first.
Oh, I didn't know who he was going to hire, but I think it'd be hard. It was going to be difficult to be the way it's been right so far. I think they've done a terrific job. That's the reason I mentioned the recruiting part of it, because people are wondering what's happening. It's just the fact that Alabama hasn't played yet. Sometimes you get guys go ahead to commit if you're good recruiters yourself, and Auburn's got some good recruiters. But I think it's been great. I think he's done a great job, and the assistant coaches have gone right in, and everything's been positive. You know, you're going to get it when they get beat. But basically, up until now, it's been terrific.
Yeah, the messaging coming out right now, Philip, is all so positive, which is a good thing. We'll see what happens with the season. Are you surprised how positive it is, Philip?
Well, I think once we got to know Coach DeBoer a little bit, you know, like Wimp said, we didn't know who the coach was going to be, but I think it goes back to the intellect of the guy that was hired. He's smart enough to just be himself, which he seems like a very congenial type person. He speaks well. He's just a normal kind of guy. And I'll tell you what I liked yesterday. He was talking to the press that was assembled after practice, and he wasn't at the podium. He was just somewhere in the facility, and he wasn't behind the podium. He didn't have the bottle at the podium. I'm not knocking anything Saban did. I was interested in that too, but he's just every man. He's just kind of an every man. You know, I like that.
Well, I don't think he's. I would say Ray Perkins was controversial. I don't think this guy's controversial. So seems like he's got everybody on his side right now. You'd be hard pressed to find anybody that could be, and he's such a nice guy, so he's not going to ruffle. No, hey, sometimes nice guys, people end up walking on you in the long run, but I don't see that. He's just not controversial. So it seems like he's got everybody on his side right now, which when you follow a legend, it's sometimes hard to do. So I think he's maybe the type of person that he is makes all this possible. Would you guys agree to that?
Oh yeah, I agree with that. And go ahead, Coach.
No, I think so. I think he's done it the right way, and you're gonna have some I thoughts and I told you so's. That's part of it. But for the most part, you look at it to where it's gone to now without playing. It's been terrific.
I just think we can judge his intellect too by his humbleness and his kind of that mannered way that he carries himself. That's intellect right there. And in today's age, that's hard to find.
It's almost he came from the West Coast. But he kind of has that Southern gentleman mentality, it seems like. He's almost like he's a Southern guy, but he's a West Coast guy, I guess, where he came from. But he doesn't. Sometimes West Coast guys are a little bit, I don't know, arrogant maybe, Philip.
Where is his hometown? Where is his hometown?
I don't know. I need to look that up, where he's from.
I don't think he's West Coast. I think he's from up in the...
Well, I guess I said West Coast, meaning he came from Washington. But yeah, he probably. I'd look that up, find out where he was born, where he grew up.
That'll tell you a lot about him right there. I think he's from up in the Dakotas, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but his formative years, I think, were spent in the Dakotas. If you could look it up, that would be interesting to know.
Yeah, where is he from, Chase?
He's from Millbank, South Dakota.
There you go, South Dakota.
There you go. Salt of the earth.
South Dakota. Dad, you ever been to South Dakota?
I think one time Jimmy Rain went to the Dakotas. I don't know whether it was north or south, but we did go. Yeah. North maybe.
You ever been to South Dakota, Philip?
No, my father was stationed up there in World War II. He had to go up there for some sort of training for his B-26 plane that he was on in World War II, and he said it was cold as hell up there.
Yeah, it is. We appreciate you, my man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate y'all. See you.
Yeah. All right, let's talk a minute about this. I know some guys talk to coaches out there, and they talked about their recruiting, and they have Courtney Morgan's a L.A. guy. He's from the West Coast, so he has. The Pump Brothers, guys like that. He's very comfortable with those guys out there, and they probably knew the talent out there since they've been recruiting that area for Washington. Do you think it'll change, Dad, though, as they stay here and, they get a little bit they're away from that area. Now, they'll still go out there, but they won't be able to evaluate those guys in the next few years as much as they can these guys here in the South just because of proximity. Do you think their recruiting will change a little bit as far as where all they go, or you think they'll keep going to that West Coast out there?
I think they'll still go. The in-state recruiting will be a great deal decided on wins and losses by Alabama. That's the one factor it's not right, but that's what happens. If the losses come, a couple losses and the playoffs are close and not get in them, I can tell you right now that if you don't really work the state of Alabama, I don't care if you are the university, it'll flip on you. Auburn will flip and get more than they've been getting. So I think the wins and losses will affect the in-state recruiting. The name Alabama's pretty big, and I think you still got a shot to go out west and get players, but. I'll just say this: nobody will particularly agree, but you have to do your homework in the state to be successful over the long run. You've got enough players in the state here every year, or in the Georgia, Florida area, to get players that make you win, rather than you go to California, you can get the great ones. Right now, they can get the great ones because they haven't played. If they lose, it might be more difficult.
I mean, is it important to maybe, hey, this year's a one-off because of the relationship that they had on the West Coast? They're able to go what they maybe think's a better player. Probably not. Is it? But this can't continue to go this way. They got to turn this around in the coming years and get the cream of the crop out of the state, right?
Here's what happens to you, Barry. The Auburn coaches right this minute are going to the 10th and 11th graders. They visit with them and say, all Alabama does is go out to the West. Now, that's not true. But they will wear them out. Well, if you don't play, they're going to go west to get their players. The new coaches from out that way, the new coach really likes to go out. I think that's the biggest thing that they do, and they can prove it because they've got a lot of players. And that doesn't mean they shouldn't go to West. They should. That doesn't mean that they're making a mistake. They're not. But I think that you have to be darned because Auburn wears them out on that. I can tell you for sure how they operate, and so that's.
Well, as they continue to get in-state kids, these kids all know each other. So now they're on the phones with them, and they're talking to their friends, and they're trying to get them to come down there. And hey,
that's right. In-state kids bring you more in-state kids. They just do, and that's exactly right. The situation of the parents, but the kids calling each other on telephone. Hey, I'm going to Aubrey. I wish you'd come in there and see it. I think you'd like it. I think it's Alabama's only going to the West Coast. I don't think that's going to particularly happen right now. It's not going to happen, but I'll just leave it. I'll leave it at that because some people think, well, it's going to be easy. It's so big based on wins and losses now with Alabama football. That's the big thing.
Of course, we're only talking about commitments. There's a big difference between commitments and signatures, and now, unfortunately, the signatures don't even mean as much. They can go there 1 year, and then if they want to, after 1 year, they can move again and with no penalty. That's why you can, the signatures, the commitment's good, the signatures are good, but still these guys can jump around so easily that you can never relax.
Well, you get them to visit as much as you can on non-official visits. Because when exactly what you're saying, if there's time you're not playing quite as much as you think you should because your daddy told you weren't, but you're a good prospect, and you're going to be pretty good if you're after a freshman year, you're going to the other school. Because you like the other school on your visit, you just selected the university or whatever when you decide on a school. So you can go from Alabama to Auburn to Alabama. Auburn gets down there, they don't get their people playing time that they want. And Alabama recruited them, and they liked Alabama. They almost went to Alabama, then Alabama will get them.
Yeah.
So the non-official visits are humongous.
Yeah, that's the thing I don't like about college. I don't.
You have to remember too, Barry, that Auburn has 5 non-official visit dates because the first 5 games are at home.
Yeah, is that good though? 5 in a row. I mean,
well, it's good for prospects. It is.
It starts to wear you out.
Well, I think it's too many in a row. I don't agree. I think the scheduling is not good there. I don't know what happened. But I think it's good as far as prospects being able to come in. I go to game 1. We're not playing that weekend, so I go to game 4. So I've been to Auburn twice on non-official visits.
Yeah,
I think it. Yeah, I think it's big. I don't think that's what you do to recruit, but because they've had it that way, and because Alabama's got a new coach, and because you don't know how they're going to win or lose, the non-official visits are huge.
All right, we'll take the break here. Up at the phone lines, 205-342-9904. Have you seen the Lank documentary? If you haven't, I highly recommend you. If you have, call us. Let us know what you thought about that as well. You listen to Tide 100.9, 1230 AM, WTBC. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, moving with a purpose on the area freeways and side streets. Now you're all starting to pump up the volume just a bit more on the roadways. Lurleen Wallace and McFarland Boulevard is one in particular, and that's pretty much typical. Otherwise, traffic is moving smooth. I do see where you're slowing down just a skosh on 2059 at Joe Malisham Parkway, and that's got some construction work in the area as well. With your Tuscaloosa traffic now, I'm Tammy Thomas.
Go inside the Alabama Crimson Tide with the Gary Harris Show.
Hey everybody, it's Gary Harris. Monday morning Gary Harris Show. We're going to be jam-packed. Alabama football practicing on Saturday and Sunday. We'll have the details of those practice plus reaction from the coaches and players. Plus Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com and Casey Smith on golf. All that and more Monday morning at 9 a.m. on the Gary Harris Show.
Catch the Gary Harris Show Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. on Tide 100.9 and Tide100.9.com.
24/7. You'll find road and utility crews, tow truck, law enforcement, and first responders working along Alabama's roadway.
We're making improvements and helping our communities stay connected.
We're working hard to make sure you're safe on the road. Now we need your help to make sure we're safe too.
Alabama's move over law requires you to move over a lane when you see flashing lights on the roadside. And if you can't safely move over, please slow down.
Visit DriveSafeAlabama.org. Brought to you by the Alabama Department of Transportation, Alabama Broadcasters Association, and this station.
Road tripping, business travel, or bringing your car in for repairs. All great reasons to rent a Toyota at Tuscaloosa Toyota. You can rent the latest Toyota models for a day, a week, or a weekend. Every Toyota rental-car comes with 24 hours roadside assistance and is backed by an entire team of people you know and trust. Rent a Toyota and let's go places. Reserving yours is a breeze at TuscaloosaToyota.com.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky partly to mostly sunny today with only a small chance of a shower this afternoon or this evening. Most places will stay dry. The high today 92, tonight's low 73. Tomorrow is sunny day with a hot afternoon, the high 95. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3320 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Roll Tide, the best sports talk, period. Your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Just before big comments on the team, I do want to send along, thoughts and prayers. Terrence Howard, who was with us and transferred on to North Carolina Central, he did pass away. And he's got some guys that are here on this team that were close to him and also thinking about him. But just want to send prayers and thoughts up to his family. But and I don't have really details on that. Really don't know anything more. As far as the team, great practice out there. This was number 4. I challenged the guys, after the first practice that when we had a day off like we had on Friday, that we could come out and really start fast. And we did that yesterday. And then, just not thinking ahead. Again, tomorrow's a day where we don't practice, but we obviously have other activities going on, things like that, that we come out. And they gave everything. They had great energy, start to finish, still putting in some extra work, position groups and the leaders stepping up. And they're really focused. Doesn't mean it's perfect, not going to be that way. And but the energy's good, and we can get a lot better when they put forth the focus and energy and all that like they did today. So I'm very pleased with where we're at after 4 practices. I felt like we've used every practice to get better, and it shows up. And now they get to grab some food, take care of their bodies, and we'll have some great meetings this afternoon, this evening, and so forth. So questions?
That was Coach DeBoer's opening statement over the weekend. The format that they do these interviews is, I think they just kind of go in the practice facility there, which obviously is indoors, and they have people scattered around, and it's a lot different than what Coach did with the podium, with you're waiting on Coach to come in, everybody's sitting there waiting on him. Now it's a little bit, and that's just the way he likes to do it. Just your thoughts about all that.
I think he gets it over with pretty quick. He's able to go right in and say what he wants to say and get that done and go on about his business. It's not a waiting process by the media. It's not a waiting process by him. It's just not a waiting process. And I think that's best for him. And everybody does the little things around being the head coach are quite different from
in the past, when Cedric would bring the Coke bottle and put it out there on the podium, you knew the coach was close to coming. Now it's just totally different. I think everybody's it's just a change, which is fine. I think people are enjoying it. All right, let's go one more clip, then we'll get to the top of the hour break. Just go to that next clip here about the defensive line and how they've done over the weekend. It's been a big talk about us up front and how good they think they can be. Here's what Coach DeBoer had to say.
You talked about the start. You're kind of looking at like where you're at now. And I thought, the thing that jumps out at me, I thought the D-line did a nice job today. I thought the D-line did a nice job. Very active early on. With the schemes we were putting in, a couple runs where there's some nice creases. The offensive line, credit them. But quickly adapted, adjusted. And, the last 3 quarters, 80% of the practice, I thought just did a good job against the run and continue to do a good job putting pressure on the quarterback consistently. They're just around and making the quarterback back there, have to move around and make some plays. And so I think that position group's been the most consistent, and I like where they're at.
All right, there's Coach about that. He talks about, which we talk a lot about, that everybody's kind of getting reps in practice now, and but as they get closer to game day, that will change. So we'll take the top of the hour break, come back and hear some more Coach DeBoer. We got Doug Bell at 8:15. We can also take your phone calls, 205-342-9904. We want to thank Yellowwood Pressure Treated Pine for Great Southern making this 7 o'clock hour possible. Always remember, guys, if it doesn't have that yellow tag on it, then you certainly don't want it.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app. From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Eddie Garcia.
At the Olympics in Paris, U.S. sprinter Noah Lyles won the 100-meter dash by 0.005 of a second and a photo finish in one of the marquee events of the Games. In swimming, the U.S. took gold in the women's 4x100-meter relay, while American Bobby Fink took gold in the 1,500-meter freestyle. American Scotty Scheffler won the gold medal in golf, and American cyclist Christine Faulkner won gold in the road race. U.S. women's basketball team beat Germany 87-68. In baseball games of note, the White Sox have lost 20 games in a row as they fall to the Twins 12-7. Orioles beat the Guardians 9-5 in a battle of division leaders. Baltimore still tied with New York for first in the AL East. The Yankees walk off with a 4-3 win over the Blue Jays in 10. Battle of division leaders, the Phillies shut out the Mariners 6-0. The Seattle Mariners still have a 1-game lead on Houston. Atop the AL West, Astros were shut out by the Rays 1-0. Dodgers defeat the A's 3-2. Brewers lose to the Nationals 4-3.
I'm attorney Sales.
Inside the Locker Room with former Crimson Tide basketball coach Wimp Sanderson and his son, former SEC and ACC assistant basketball coach Barry Sanderson. It's time to take you inside the locker room on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back to the second hour of Inside the Locker Room, 205-342-9904. Allstate Insurance agent Andrew Kniffer. He's my agent. Let Andrew become yours. Out at 4705 McFarland Boulevard, Suite 3 over in Northport. Look for Home Life Auto. You want somebody that knows the area inside and out. Well, that'd be Andrew and his staff. Give them a call today, 205-722-9201. Andrew Kniffer, Allstate Insurance. All right, Chase, let's go. Talks about everyone getting reps in practice right now. Now, those things change as you get closer to game time, but now everybody gets a chance to kind of show what they can do. Let's hear what he had to say about that.
That this was the time to make that move, or what did you do to stand out?
Who's that?
Kate Proctor.
Oh, Proctor, yeah. Well, we're just rotating some guys, so I know you guys aren't seeing all the reps and everything. So just rotating, especially at tackle. The 3 interior guys have been pretty consistent with the ones, but working, Pritchett, Formby, and Proctor, around. So, again, I know you just saw the lineup maybe for a couple snaps, while we're going through drill work, but, they've all been getting their chance and all, continue to get better. And, we've got plenty of time here, but that chemistry for that unit is going to be really critical.
And then he was referring, obviously, they're doing that with every position, but the offensive line. I saw, Dad, where the offensive line coach talked about he wants everybody to learn how to center. So they get some reps at center, because that will, he talked about, we may have a guy go down or whatever, so you need to kind of know how to do it, but also it helps your draft stock if you can play multiple positions and you know how to do that. So, of course, if you don't get that snap back to the quarterback, the play's not going to ever happen. That was a big problem last year for Alabama. I thought that was kind of interesting, though. He was teaching them all to center the ball because you never know when you might be called on to do that.
Well, the best thing about the offensive line coach is he's the number one recruiter. He's already gotten commitments from 3 of Alabama's best players that they've gotten, and he's working on the others. He is when you find a line coach that generally they're big and bulky and maybe not as not as polished. Shouldn't say that they are, I guess, but he feels like they feel like he is. Don't feel like he's been thus far their best recruiter. So he's worked on the guys that they have fought like the dickens to get and have gotten. He got the quarterback from SMU for him, and so that was a big hit, I think, because you never know. Milroe's 88 out the gate after this year, so I hope that Ty Simpson can come in and play, but always it never hurts you to have a room full of quarterbacks.
Yeah, I was thinking about the quarterbacks. Ty Simpson's got some NIL deals. Bryce Young made, he had the national commercials, the Dr. Pepper, the stuff, and so he did really well. And now Jalen Milroe, when you're the quarterback at Alabama, next thing you know, he's up in New York. He's in Yankee Stadium. He's doing all the shows up there. You hear him now here. He came in the other day and did a lot of local ads for people. So the Alabama quarterback here, there's a lot of opportunity for them. That's got to help them in recruiting when you can say, hey, here's what Bryce Young got to do and here's what Milroe got to do. And so,
regardless, Barry, whether that's true, but does it hurt people to say, you see what Bryce Young did? He's the greatest quarterback in the history of Alabama football and not doing it. His ineffectiveness, and I think he's still a great quarterback, does his ineffectiveness in the pros cause people to wonder, or they just separate him as people?
Well, I just think obviously it's just 1 year, and I don't think he went to a very good team. So when you're drafting that high, you're drafting that high for a reason. So I don't know. We'll see how he does through it. But when you take Jalen Hurts and the money that he signed for, and Tua and the money that he signed for, there's two of your highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL that played right here. And obviously Mac Jones was started, but now he's with Jacksonville. So I think they got a pretty good track record of quarterbacks doing pretty well, and we'll see. Bryce Young was a number one pick, so I don't know if they better find something else to use. As much as Tua and Jalen are making in the NFL. That's their second contract. You go through that first one, you get to that second one, then you've been doing well. All right, when he talks about what he wants the team to focus on during these practices, we'll go right down the list here. Go ahead with that, Chase.
They got a lot of want to, because the first day there's gonna be energy. I spoke with you. The second day, is another follow up. It's still early. Day 3, you get the pads on for the first time, and now now they're into that routine and that rhythm, and that rhythm can just become complacent. These guys are definitely not doing that, and they're having fun doing what they do out there on the field every day. They enjoy being around each other. They obviously are out for themselves and want to do things individually and have that success, but ultimately you can really feel that they care about their teammates, and I like the direction our chemistry is going.
Hey, the swarm defense, going back to that, is a lot of it is read defense. And by the time you get to Georgia will have put in everything in the name of Pete offensively. And I know offense is not one of his big fortes. And Oklahoma and Wisconsin too. Will the Reed defense be effective against the Tennessees and everybody that they play? It's going to be very interesting. I'm sure it will because it's been successful where they've been. I don't know really how successful he was in South Alabama. I should know that before I say it. But his dad was successful, and this is going to be a little bit different defensively. They're proud of it right now because they can read what's going on. But he jumps their fannies pretty hard in practice. But it's going to be that part of the game for me is going to be a little bit more in the defensive backs, who I know very little about, but supposed to be good. Lost a lot of good players. Those two factors there kind of be interesting to me.
You know, what he said there was so interesting. Anybody that's ever coached know this to be true. The first practice, man, everybody is jacked up. They're pumped up. They're healthy. They're feeling good. Then you got practice 2 and then practice 3 and then you put the pads on, and it's just like in basketball. You're doing certain drills, and then after a while they've kind of learned all the drills, and then they get a little bit bored with it. So everybody's ready early as you stay into it, and then their roles haven't been defined yet. So everybody's eager right now to impress coach. But at some point, the thing's going to be cut down. So then those guys that are going to the scout team or whatever, what is their mental attitude going to be? Are they going to say, hey, I'm going to keep working. I'm going to take it day to day. I'm going to be ready. I'm going to keep improving. Or are they going to sit over there and sulk because they're not on the first? So I think that's good what Coach talked about. Everybody's eager now and early as they start going through this fall camp. It gets hot. They get sore. They get tired. It's not as easy to motivate them.
Well, you got a happy team right now. You know what a happy team means? Not as many transfers, not as many people thinking about it. And it's a little bit more difficult to transfer, even though you're not playing quite as much as your dad thinks you should. It's a little bit more difficult to transfer when everybody around me is pretty happy. It's a happy bunch. It's not, we're going in there, and like when Coach Bryant was there, they mash them morning and night. Not that they appreciate them when it's over with. But right now, in a period of time when you need to win games in order to have the recruiting go your way the first year, I think these guys are satisfied. I don't know whether probably the word's not happy, but they all seem to be satisfied with each other, and I think that's big.
Yeah, and everybody's eager now, but the newness will wear off here before too long, and then it's the day-to-day grind, and then getting ready for the games and all that. All that's coming, and those coaches know that. And so some guys you have to motivate a little bit more with how you handle them. Some guys are just self-motivated. They come in there, they're ready to go every single day. So finding out what button to push with each player. Unfortunately, aren't all these guys are different. What motivates one guy might not motivate the other guy. So you have to figure out. And I think a great story with you would be Derek McKee as to how to motivate that individual player. You try to do it as a team, but sometimes you got to do different things with different players to get the most out of them.
Yeah, you do. And winning games is huge. You drop the Wisconsin and Georgia games back to back with all of what's going on. You got to work like the dickens to keep everybody, and the crowds, the fans are against you. You got to work awfully hard. You got to work, but people. I think if that were to happen, it's not going to happen. You'd have less people transferring. I still think that because I think people are satisfied with each other a little bit now. That's a big statement to say lose them back to back. Hopefully they won't. I don't think they will, but it's scary.
All right, let's go to this one more clip, then we'll get to break and get Doug in. He talks about helping the defense and improving through practices there. We obviously know Coach DeMoore spends most of his time with the offense, but they say he is all over the practice field. Here's what he had to say about that.
Make mistakes, that's what you do.
Yeah, no, we do that. We do a lot of that, and we got to make sure we can play fast and that it's not complicated for us. So, the base plays and then as many different wrinkles and, just different pictures we can run our base stuff out of, is only going to make it to where the defense has to talk, adjust. And if we can just help the guys gain one step, by making the defense have to think about the shift and the motion that just happened and the communication that goes with it. That's only going to help them. And we've done a lot of it here, the first 4 practices, much more than we did in the spring, just because, again, they're getting the install, they're getting more comfortable, they're trusting that we're going to get them into certain spots with certain plays and concepts, and they get to those spots, they're confident in themselves and the other guys around them. So I like where we're at there with all the moving parts, and it's no secret. We've done it for many years, so we're not talking about anything no one knows about.
And there he's talking about when he lines up his offense, they're doing a lot of different things that the defense has to adjust to. So when those things happen, they're helping the defense, it's helping the offense. The more things they do, the more things they see, the more the game will slow down for these guys.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think you're right on it. Okay.
All right, we'll take the break here. We'll get to Doug Bell, find out Scotty Scheffler, 62, to win the gold medal. At one point, it looked like he wasn't even going to medal. We want to thank Tuscaloosa Toyota. Go to TuscaloosaToyota.com. You can see all the new inventory, the used inventory. Man, the 2025 Camrys are out there. Great rates on all the vehicles out there. They also got the pre-owned vehicles right there on the website you can look at. You want to rent a Toyota, you can do it right there. Order a part, anything you need right there at the website. Or swing by Skyland Boulevard. See Justin, see David. They'll take great, great care of you. Looking forward to visiting with Justin on Wednesday about all the great deals they got out at Tuscaloosa Toyota.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Definitely starting to beef up the volume as you travel on 69 southbound lanes. Just before McFarland Boulevard, you got a long line of stack-ups taking you back to Leland Drive. And McFarland Boulevard, well, that's starting to get a bit slower on the eastbound lanes to Lurleen Wallace. Also McFarland westbound onto Watermelon Drive. You do want to watch out for those, or Watermelon Road, but you do want to watch out for those slow goes. With your Tuscaloosa traffic now, Tammy Thomas.
This report. 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky partly to mostly sunny today with only a small chance of a shower this afternoon or this evening. Most places will stay dry. The high today 92, tonight's low 73. Tomorrow is sunny day with a hot afternoon, the high 95. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Mr. SEC Tournament Wimp Sanderson gives you his excellent analysis every weekday on Inside the Locker Room, right here on Tide 100.9.
Welcome back to Inside the Locker Room. We'll get right to the Tuscaloosa Toyota hotline. He's with PGA Tour Radio, PGA Tour Live, CBS Sports. Also has the podcast, The Old Gab Box. We'll have him tell you about that, and MD Wellness and Aesthetics at the end of the segment. But we always enjoy having Doug on. Good morning, Doug.
Hey, Barry. Hey, Coach. Pretty exciting, the Olympics men's golf, huh? The way it ended up yesterday.
Every time I looked up, I saw a picture of all you guys. I worked with, what's his name, that works with you in basketball.
Oh, Mark?
No. I can't call his name. God, it's awful. But anyway.
Bill Rosinski.
Yeah.
You worked with Bill doing basketball.
I worked. Tell him I said hello.
I will.
To make 4 straight birdies, the last 4 holes, I think. Talk about that. His presentation when they played the national anthem and he cried, and I wrote a big thing about that. He's a different kind of guy, isn't he?
He is. We're talking about Scotty Scheffler, and he started yesterday 4 shots back, and ahead of him was Xander Schauffele, who won the Open Championship, and people were saying, well, maybe he'll be the player of the year. And of course, Jon Rahm hasn't done a lot this year. He went to Live Golf, but Scotty was 4 behind those guys, and Jon Rahm was comfortably ahead. He was 4 shots ahead with 8 holes to play. So. It was crazy. And, of course, Jon Rahm double bogeyed. The last 5 holes he had a double and 3 bogeys. So, I mean, he faltered big time. But, Scotty shot 29 on his inward 9 coming home and was just – listen, he's the best player in the world by far. Statistically, if you compare his stats to everybody else, they're not even close. And now, guys, it's one of the great all-time years, especially in the modern era, when you consider that he has 7 victories. Obviously, one of those a gold medal, won the Masters, won the Players' Championship, first player ever to go back-to-back to win the Players, and 4 other wins in signature events, which meant that he was going against the best players on the PGA Tour for high dollars on tough golf courses. He won Jack's tournament at Muirfield. He won Arnold Palmer's tournament at Bay Hill. So regardless of what happens now for the playoffs and beyond, Scotty Scheffler has had one of the great years in the history of golf. And think about this, Barry and Coach. He didn't get any money, obviously, for the Olympics. Yeah. But going forward with the FedEx Cup playoffs, he has an opportunity. He's already set the all-time record for most money in a year by a golfer. He has the opportunity to win up close to $50 million if he goes on to win the FedEx Cup. So it's just been a banner year. But you're right, Coach. When he stood up there on the podium and heard the national anthem and just broke down crying, it says something about a guy who realized that the gold medal was pretty important in it. And he didn't win $4 million this time. He won the gold medal. And I think the emotions got the best of him, but it was pretty neat to see.
Well, he's humble in wins and humble in losses both.
Yep.
You don't find that sometimes. You get bitter with losses, and he's had some losses. But his demeanor, his personality, and the way he acts, he's humble both. He's not a show guy. He just plays, and that's what he likes to do.
Yeah, Doug, tell the listener what kind of guy he is. I mean, you know him on a personal level.
Yeah.
My understanding is he still drives his 2012 SUV. He doesn't.
He does.
I don't think he does a lot of endorsement stuff. He's more family and golf, which you would think he could kill it on the endorsement side. Not that he's some big personality just based on how mature he is, but I don't think he cares about that. So just maybe tell the listeners kind of the inside story of Scotty Scheffler, what kind of person he is.
Yeah, he grew up. He actually was born and raised in New Jersey, and his dad was in pharmaceutical sales, and his mom worked, and he just grew up in a family atmosphere. But they moved to Texas for his father's work, actually for his mother's work, because his dad could work remotely. It was pretty interesting. And he just started playing golf there in Dallas and got better and better, and now still lives in the same area. Obviously bought a nice home, but he bought it because it's only 10 minutes from where he plays there in Dallas. And he does have the same SUV, Barry. And I think last I read, it has over 200,000 miles on it. And when asked about it, he laughed and he said, "Well, I really only go from the house to the golf course when I'm home." And he goes, "When my wife and I go out to dinner, we take her car." So, I mean, he really is just a regular guy, and obviously went to the University of Texas and was a really good player there, but even though he had some injuries, and probably wasn't on the same level as Jordan Spieth and some of these other All-Americans at the University of Texas, but was talented. And then went out and earned his way through the Korn Ferry Tour, which is the AAA league of the PGA Tour. And it took him a while to win on the PGA Tour. And 6 years ago, he was a captain's pick on the Ryder Cup, if you remember, up in Hazeltine in Minnesota, and was the star, was undefeated. And that kind of catapulted his career. And now, over the last 3.5 years, this yeir, by the way, I mean, think about his year, guys. Here's a guy who has 7 wins, the gold medal, won the Masters, as we've already said. He and his wife celebrated the birth of their first little baby boy, and that happened right around the time of the PGA Championship when that much-publicized arrest happened on Friday morning. I mean, what a crazy, amazing, emotional year it has been for the Schefflers in 2024. But the bottom line, Barry, you're right, and I've got to know him and his mom and dad and his sisters, and they're out at the tournaments all the time. They're just regular, wholesome, good-hearted people, and it's fun to be around them because they know everybody. His dad knows everybody by name. I mean, his dad will come up, "Hey, Doug, how you doing?" And it's great to be around him, and it makes me feel good to know that really just a regular guy who is supremely gifted. I mean, he's the best player in the world. Has now had one of those years, and Coach, you're right. He's a humble guy, and he won't change despite all this success. He won't change at all. And Barry, I don't think he's going to be doing any endorsements. I don't think that's in his game. It just takes away from what he likes to do, which is practice and play golf, hang out with his wife and baby. He loves pickleball. He loves going to Chipotle. When he's on the road, he virtually eats at Chipotle every day. He sees where the local Chipotle is, and that's where he eats. So, yeah. I don't know, kind of cool.
Yeah, my mom went to Chipotle the other day, and Dad, she said she didn't like it. Maybe she needs to figure out what Scotty Scheffler is eating at Chipotle.
No kidding.
But when he got done yesterday, they talked about it, said his dad doesn't even play golf.
No.
Told him, hey, go stay warm on the range. So that they show him down there on the range, and he and his caddy, and he's looking at his phone. I don't know if he's looking at his text messages or do they have the tournament pulled up to kind of see what's going to happen. Of course, what are they doing down there, Doug? Obviously, they're keeping warm and hitting some balls, but they're looking at their phone. Are they watching the tournament to kind of know what's happening? What are they looking at on that phone?
I think the scoreboard, they had a big scoreboard there that had it on, but I think he was just answering text messages. I think people from home were like, hey, what a round, or, this or that. And I think he was eating a protein bar, and just looking at his phone and just getting ready. He hadn't really hit a ball yet, because he knew it was going to take a birdie to tie him. But then by the time they signed the scorecard and everything, he had plenty of time to hit a few balls. But, I think what we saw yesterday, listen, and it happens a lot in championship golf, it's tougher to protect a lead when you're going against the best as opposed to coming from behind. Because he did start, he birdied his first 3 holes right out of the gates yesterday, 1, 2, and 3. Had no bogeys, by the way, and there's a lot of water. There's water on 11 of the 18 holes there. It's a course that you can score on, but you have to be very careful. But he obviously roared from behind and knew that he had nothing to lose. It's like, let's just go for broke. Let's hit driver in some spots where I may not. Let's be aggressive at this hole location, which may not be the go for hole location, because I have nothing to lose. And I think that played well. And we see that a lot. I know Tiger was always more comfortable coming from behind. And let me say this too, guys. And speaking of Tiger, when he's in the rearview mirror, when Jon Rahm looks at the scoreboard and Tommy Fleetwood looks at the scoreboard, they're like, oh, my gosh, he's within 1. He's tied. He's in the lead. That adds significant pressure to those guys because they know how well he's playing. And I think that has something to do with it. There is an intimidation factor. When you're as good as Scotty Scheffler, people see you coming, and when you're there, they're like, oh, no. So, and listen, it happens in all sports, but especially golf.
Yep.
Well, golf, you got to play well, but also it's a little bit different than football and basketball. You can't do anything about how the other guy plays.
Right.
And when Rahm made the bogeys and double bogeys, that giving Sonny Moore gives Scotty all the credit in the world. But Rahm had to play bad in order to win it, and he did. But
he helped him. No doubt. And that double bogey on the par 5 was incredible for Rahm. Those guys, listen, the thing they hate the most, those guys, those great players, is bogeying or double bogeying a par 5 because they're long enough to knock those par 5s down. And then a 3-putt. Oh, my goodness. They just want to take a dagger and kill themselves when they 3-putt a hole.
Well,
those are the two things.
Doug, you picked Rahm to win it on our show.
I know.
And I was like, man, he's going to win. Doug is going to be on a roll this year. And then it kind of went downhill. It was close. You had it.
Yeah.
You had it.
And what a bad year he's had, guys. Again, right before the PGA Tour season begins. We're talking everybody was getting ready to go to Hawaii. And Rahm, the rumor was out there, and then all of a sudden he leaves for LIV. Right before the season starts. And has not played well in any of the major championships, and has one win on LIV. That was last week when Tyrrell Hatton missed a 3-footer. But what does that mean to win on LIV? and now blows it in the final round of the Olympics. So it has been just aside from getting that staggering contract, Jon Rahm, he made, an amazing amount of money on the course. And I know that bugs him because he's an emotional guy, obviously wears his emotions outwardly. And a year ago, guys, we didn't have the Olympics, but 1 year ago, he was battling with Scottie Scheffler. It was back and forth who was number one in the world. Rahm was one, and then Scheffler would pass him, and it was back and forth. And Rahm was right there in the conversation. So, listen, he made the business deal, he and his business, his agent, et cetera. And you can't argue with the money that he's making, but at the same time, I think it clearly has affected his game. Whatever that case may be. Maybe he's not playing enough big tournaments. Maybe he's lost a competitive edge. His wife is pregnant again, by the way, with their third baby. So there's a lot going on in Jon Rahm's life, but it has clearly affected his golf game a big way.
Does that affect guys now going to live, or is the money just so great, or now they look at it and say, man, this guy went over there and his golf game's going to the toilet, and a lot of these guys have. I guess Bryson DeChambeau maybe hasn't, but is that a deterrent for guys not to go now?
I think so, Barry. Yeah, I mean, and remember at the beginning 3 years ago, and Koepka and Patrick Reed and Phil Mickelson all finished top 6 at the Masters when Rahm won, by the way, before he went to LIV. And the word was, well, gosh, this move to LIV hasn't really affected anything. These guys play great in major championships. Then, of course, Koepka won a PGA championship. It's like, oh, my goodness. And then DeChambeau wins the U.S. Open, and the conversation is, well, it's not. But in reality, aside from those, and those guys are ultra-talented, so they're capable. But I think in reality, when you look at the LIV guys, a lot of those guys, like Joaquin Niemann, for example, who was in the Olympics, and he's a LIV guy, he is now planning on playing a full schedule of DP World Tour events, European Tour events, to increase his chances of getting world ranking points. Because right now, he's not eligible for any of the major championships. So I think a lot of these guys are rethinking the LIV situation, although, and we talk about it every week on the show, I think they're going to come to some agreement here very soon where there'll be crossover play. And I think that'll probably happen in 2025.
Yeah.
Boy, Tommy Fleetwood just can't win, can he?
No.
He's such a great player. He has played how many years? He's never won.
Not on the PGA Tour. No, he's won on the European Tour, but he's never won on the PGA Tour.
Oh, he did well on the European Tour. Okay.
Yeah, he's won over there, but not a lot. And he's a guy who was offered money to go to LIV back in 2 or 3 years ago, and he opted to stay on the PGA Tour. And he's a really good player, Coach. You're right. Very unique. He chokes down, if you ever notice. He chokes down about an inch on every club. That's just kind of the way he plays, which is unique. Most golfers don't do that, choke down. Some do it on the short wedge shots, but if you watch Tommy Fleetwood with the driver off the tee, with an iron in the fairway, he chokes down. Very unique. And another really good guy, by the way. Very interesting man. And his caddy, Ian Finnis, it's funny when they stand next to each other. Ian is about 6'7", and Tommy's about 5'7". Yeah. So they're an interesting match. And his caddy, by the way, had some pretty serious heart surgery 2 months ago, and has come out of that and was caring for him at the Olympics. So, listen, I know all these guys. I like all these guys. It's fun to be with them, get to know them and their families, and I root for them all. I really do. And I was kind of hoping. I said, wouldn't it be great if Tommy birdied that last hole to force the playoff? But the 18th hole was a pretty hard hole. So he didn't get it done. But a silver medal's good. And it was a PGA Tour sweep with Scheffler gold, Fleetwood silver, and Matsuyama bronze. So there were no LIV guys who celebrated anything in the Olympics this year.
I hate it. What's his name? Try to stay out of service. I can't call names anymore.
Tom Kim, Tom Kim. Those South Korean guys, up until now, he will have, I believe, Coach, I think he's going to have 2 or 3 more years.
Yeah,
I think it's up to the age of 25, where if you medal in the Olympics or win some sort of World Golf Championship event, you don't have to do the mandatory military service in South Korea, which has affected a lot of these players from South Korea over the years. So Tom Kim needs to get that done, and he'll have about 3 more years. But talk about pressure. My goodness.
Yeah.
If you don't medal.
Tell our listeners, because we need to keep you on, where you're going next for golf.
Well, this week is the final regular season event, the Wyndham Championship, Greensboro, North Carolina, Sedgefield Country Club. And if you're not in the top 70, you need to get there. For example, Davis Riley, University of Alabama guy who won earlier this year, the Charles Schwab, he is 72nd in FedEx Cup points, so he's not in the playoffs yet. Lee Hodges is 77th.
They got to go.
So those two they need to make a move.
Yeah.
They need to make a move, yeah. And for Lee, moving up 7 spots will be difficult. Davis needs to play well. I mean, I would say Davis needs a top 10 finish to make the playoffs. So those two guys will be playing hard. Lucas Glover, by the way, who won last year's Wyndham to make it in the playoffs, he is 76th. So he's in the same boat he was a year ago, which is interesting.
All right, so the playoffs, tell our listeners, the playoffs start with 100 and,
they start
90?
with 70. 70.
Okay.
Yeah. So the last regular season event
goes
is this
to
week
50,
in Greensboro.
then to 30.
Yep. Then it goes to Memphis, TPC Southwind. Top 70 go there, and then the top 50 advance to Colorado, where they used to play the International there.
Okay.
And then the final 30 will go to Eastlake. That's at the end of August, and which will be the same right before that first week of college football. And that's when all the money's handed. It's the staggered start. Whoever's number one going in.
Will you do any of those?
Yeah, I'll be there for all those.
Well,
not
be sure and tell Barry
who
you pick to win when we get down to the final 30, if you don't mind.
I will. Because I know you guys have a lot of confidence in my picks now. The Rahm thing, I mean, listen, I didn't plan on him with a double bogey at a par 5. I would have had a winner there, too. So
Yeah. Will Dick Dunlap play in the Wyndham?
Well, he's inside the top 70.
Yeah.
He may play in the Wyndham because he hasn't played in a couple of weeks. I need to check that, Barry. Yeah. He doesn't need to play, but I think he probably will because, again, top 70 gets you into Memphis, but the goal is to get to the top 50, obviously, to keep it going. So, and Nick right now, if I looked, I think he was 66.
Oh, I thought he was in the 40s. I looked at it.
Can he lose out if he plays and plays poorly? Could he go to the 71?
No, it'll be
okay.
He's in the first round of the playoffs. It'll be very. Yeah, he's in mathematically, but the closer he can get to 50, it would help him advance further into the playoffs. So, and we'll say this: listen, Scheffler has closed the discussion on PGA Tour Player of the Year, just simply because, I mean, anybody thought Xander with 2 majors, that discussion ended yesterday. Nick Dunlap, by the way, and the players vote on these things. Nick is the leading candidate for the Rookie of the Year, which is now called the Arnold Palmer Award, which is really a kind of a neat deal. It carries the name of Arnold. And even though he won his first event as an amateur early in the year, the players vote on that, and no other rookie has 2 victories this year. So I think Nick is going to wind up being PGA Tour Rookie of the Year, which is, think about that. I mean, as an amateur, he goes to the American Express, let's give it a go, ends up winning, turns pro a week later, wins again the Barracuda, and now it looks like he's going to be in the playoffs. I mean, his life has changed dramatically, a 21-year-old. But I think at the end of it, when it all said and done, he's going to be the winner of the Arnold Palmer Award, the PGA Tour Rookie of the Year, Nick Dunlap. I think that is really, really neat.
Yeah, great.
Look at the FedEx Cups. So when you look on that ESPN, the rankings in that's different because he's 41 in that.
Oh, is he? Okay. Well, I could have sworn before I came on with you guys because I had Davis at 72 and Lee at 77. Is that what you have there?
That may be something different. The rankings on the ESPN, I don't know.
Oh yeah, go to the PGAtour.com and go to FedEx Cup standings, and it'll list everybody. Okay. And I thought Nick was 66. I may be wrong. I know he's inside.
Yeah, I got it pulled up now. So
yeah.
All right, sounds good. All right, Doug, tell everybody about your podcast and then about MD Wellness and Aesthetics.
Yeah, no, I'm excited about the podcast, The Old Gabbox Podcast, and you can watch it on YouTube. And just, again, it's The Old, O-L-E, Gabbox Podcast. This week, Chris Childers, who is on the College Sports Channel on Sirius XM, he's on with Rick Neuheisel every day from 8 to 11 Central Time. And Chris is a guest, and we talk a lot about college football. And what I found interesting, guys, this week, Jackson Dart, the quarterback for Ole Miss, his NIL deal includes the use of a private jet, which I found just, alumnus at Ole Miss wants to help out with NIL, and in order to improve the NIL deal for their quarterback, he has access to a private jet whenever he needs it, maybe to bring family to football games, or maybe on an off week he wants to take his friends to a concert or something. Think about that. And Shedeur Sanders, we talked about this, the quarterback, Deion's son, the quarterback at Colorado. Netflix is doing a series on Colorado football, and Shedeur in April went to his first in-person class at the University of Colorado only because the cameras wanted to film him in a classroom. He takes everything online at the University of Colorado, and up until that day had never stepped foot on campus or in a classroom outside the football complex at the University of Colorado. That is one of our points that we talk about. Guys, think about that. Think about how crazy that is.
That's great. There's an article out now.
Don't bet on Colorado on anything.
Yeah, there's an article out now. I can't remember, but about Colorado and how toxic it is on the inside over there. That thing's going to blow up, I'm afraid.
These young guys don't actually, they transfer to a school and they never actually go to a classroom, or everything is online, and some of these young men, they've accumulated so many hours at their other schools, they may never even take an online class at the university they transfer into. So literally many of these young men who transfer to play football are simply going to the school, play football. They never actually enter a classroom, talk to a professor, walk on the quad. Doing what normal students do. So I don't know. The more I get into it and talk about these examples all over the country, it is madness where college sports is going.
In the future, should we ask our doctors, hey, did you actually go to class? Did you become an anesthesiologist online?
It is unbelievable. But the private jet thing for the Ole Miss quarterback, to me, blew me away.
That's a pretty good deal there.
That's a good deal, yeah. And I don't know how many hours he gets, or
that's the problem there. You can't use it today. We got something else. I thought tomorrow.
Did you get it at all, though?
Yeah. That's the way to go, private jets, and that's fairly expensive.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess it's good to be a talented quarterback in college football.
No doubt. Well, Doug, we look forward to your picks throughout the season.
Yeah.
So
it's coming up, guys. In fact, I've been doing research in anticipation of the show every Monday.
Call me off the air and tell me so I can get a good blue plate from you.
Yeah.
All right. I got him on.
Y'all talk privately, and then let that be Dad's blue play. He'll go against you. We'll see how he does this year.
I can't wait, guys. I'm so excited about this football season. I really am.
All right. Thanks, Doug.
What's exciting you? What's got you so fired up?
I'll give you one real quick before I say goodbye. Miami at Florida, Miami in Gainesville, and Miami is a 2.5-point favorite. Guys, I'm just telling you, this is an early pick.
Oh, God.
Go with the Gators. I'm just saying. And Barry, I hate it when I say that's a lock. I won't say that.
Don't say that's a lock. I think you did that with Army or somebody.
Yes, I did. I remember that. And you never forget these things, Barry. But yes, that was right. It was the Army game, right? Yeah, I remember that.
Thank you, Doug. You're the best.
All right. See you guys. Bye.
All right, let's tell them about Bryant Bank, and we'll get to break.
Well, Bryant Bank, it's a place where you can where you can go in and the bank will know you by name. I think that's big.
they got 4 offices in Tuscaloosa and a lot of offices in Birmingham. And you can enjoy online banking, which is terrific for you around the clock. Bryant Bank tries to do everything they possibly can to help the high schools, and especially in Tuscaloosa, where they have 4 banks, as I mentioned. They try to serve the children with Tuscaloosa school system as best they can. Remember now, you got the same area code, same zip code as your banker does. They'll be darn sure that the fraud that comes into targeting banks will not be involved in yours. So go by Bryant Bank, tell them you heard on Inside the Locker Room, and hopefully you'll be satisfied with them. They'll do a terrific job for you, and tell them you heard on Inside the Locker Room.
You listen to Tide 100.9. It's the home of Alabama sports.
There's an time in the Army National Guard has led to a lot of firsts for me. It paid for me to be the first person in my family to go to school. That education got me to the first day at my dream job, which I can still hold while I serve part-time. That job and the home loan benefits I got from the Army National Guard helped me buy my first house. I also know that I will be one of the first to respond if my community ever needs me.
Sponsored by the Alabama Army National Guard. Aired by the Alabama Broadcasters Association and this station.
Tide 100.9 Traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. A little issue over in Coaling on both sides of Route 11 between Palmer Street and Ralph Cooley Road. You do have some slow traffic in the area. It looks like they're doing some work. Otherwise, traffic in the rest is just flowing freely right now. Looking at McFarland and Lurleen Wallace, that usually gets pretty busy in that intersection, but right now, you're pretty much moving at typical speed. With your Tuscaloosa traffic now, Tammy Thomas.
Go inside the Alabama Crimson Tide with the Gary Harris Show.
Hey everybody, it's Gary Harris. Monday morning Gary Harris Show. We're going to be jam-packed. Alabama football practicing on Saturday and Sunday. We'll have the details of those practice plus reaction from the coaches and players. Plus Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com and Casey Smith on golf. All that and more Monday morning at 9 a.m. on the Gary Harris Show.
Catch the Gary Harris Show Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. on Tide 100.9 and Tide100.9.com.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky partly to mostly sunny today with only a small chance of a shower this afternoon or this evening. Most places will stay dry. The high today 92, tonight's low 73. Tomorrow is sunny day with a hot afternoon, the high 95. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3320 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Inside the Locker Room with Wimp and Barry on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Chase.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello? Hello?
Yes.
It's Cowboy.
Hey, Cowboy. How are you?
All right. I'm looking out the window of the condo here in the beach. They just put the red flag up. These waves are pretty rough.
Yeah, have a storm coming into Florida and maybe come over some over to the maybe to the west towards north towards Gulf Shores. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we'll relieve Wednesday, but I don't know. It might get rough tomorrow.
It's going to be there before Wednesday, I think, or close.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's been beautiful. Otherwise, had a little frog strangler that popped up yesterday afternoon, about 10 minutes, but that was it. But the guy just put the red flag up. You can see there's an undercurrent going today, I believe.
It's a dangerous time out there. People don't understand that stuff can get you, but you can be wading in water and it'll take you off. So be careful.
Yeah. The jellyfish are kind of bad too. But where'd Barry go?
I'm here. We just didn't have my microphone on. I was talking to you. You just couldn't hear me.
Oh, okay. All right. Good deal. I'm kind of thinking maybe like Doug Bell was thinking, maybe Florida over Miami. I got me one of those magazines. I've been looking at it down here at the beach, and boy, they got Miami at home. Goodness gracious, that's a big opportunity to get a big win there. Maybe they could do it, because I talked to in Dallas some players that left Miami and came up to SMU from, Miami, because they knew Rhett Lashley, I guess, running back, another running back. And they wasn't too fond of Cristobal, but I guess if you leave somewhere, you're not fond of the coach. If you liked him, you'd stay, right?
Yeah. Don't ever say you're thinking like Doug Bell and you're talking about picking games, because you don't want to associate yourself with Doug and picking games, Cowboy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He's bad, isn't he?
He was bad last year. His record was not good. I mean, it was abysmal.
All right. Well, we're what are we here today? August 5th. Let's just talk about that game. Who do you guys like, Miami or Florida at home?
Where is that game?
It's in Gainesville. It's in Gainesville, but Miami's still a 2.5 point.
Florida.
Miami's favored by 2.5 at this time. Now, it could change as it gets closer to it, and maybe the money will pour in on Florida, but we'll see.
That's a coin flip. You remember 2 years ago, Florida beat Utah at home, and Utah was a lot better than them, but somehow or another they beat them. I guess I'm going to go with Florida probably in that game, but I might be wrong.
Yeah. Well, it's getting close. It's getting close.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Seems like the Alabama excitement, the press conferences are just weird now. Watching this stuff is, I don't know, I guess I've been programmed like a robot for 17 years of just Nick Saban's voice. Those press conferences, I tried to watch some of them last night. Man, you got an assistant coach talking, you got a head coach talking. I don't know what either one of them are saying.
Well, the media doesn't have to wait. Great. They don't have to wait. I guess you wait on Cedric to bring the Coke bottle in, and you're waiting on Coach now. I think they just roll in there and they get in there and get what they need and get out. All right, Cowboy, we got to get out of here and make way for the Gary Harris Show. So appreciate you, my man. Right. Enjoy the beach.
Yeah, y'all be good.
Enjoy the beach.
We will. Thank you.
All right, that's it for today's show. So keep it locked in. The Gary Harris Show is next. We'll be back with you tomorrow. Kevin Skarbinski will join us at 7:30. Then 8:15, great guest Garth Glisman, the Associate Commissioner with the SEC. We'll talk to Garth about all the new different rule changes with scholarship limits and the money and all that. Look forward to visiting with Garth Glisman with the SEC. You listen to Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC. It's the home of Alabama sports. Have a great day, everybody.